radio fans, we are now back in the studio. Stand by for your station announcement. And away we go!
Now, I know you'd love to just sit there and keep being not slim, but we got to work a little today, okay?
Broadcasting channels of the entire world will be cleared. In every continent, in every land, in all the four corners of the earth, the whole world over. Men, women, and children, of every age and race, and nationality, station, and color. Men of every language ready now to listen to the same voice.
So, is this on?
Finally, a way to combine my love of helping people with my love of hurting people.
So sit back, pop open a cold bottle of Brazilian mineral water, enjoy some poached salmon with capers, and adjust the satellite, because we have a great show.
And there was much rejoicing.
Unleash the fury.
Unleash the fury!
Ladies and gentlemen of the universe, the next voice you hear.
It's Erik Nagel.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It is the name of the program, but it's also the name of the host, and that is me, Erik Nagel. You can follow me online, Erock Radio, on Twitter and Instagram. I don't have Matt with me. I don't have Giddles with me. I have nobody here. I'm alone flying solo tonight, but you can follow them online at GeekStuffOG and at GiddleBase, respectively. I do also have a lot of guests tonight and not a lot of time to do everything, so I gotta move fast. A little bit later in the program, we're going to talk to the cast and crew of Big Hero 6, the brand new film from Disney Pictures that's taken from the Marvel comic book of the same name. T.J. Miller, Scott Adsit, Genesis Rodriguez, Jamie Chong, a whole lot more. We'll get to that a little later in the program. But right now, let's welcome my first guest. You may remember him as Kumar from Harold and Kumar. He was on the show House. He was Taj in Van Wilder. This guy has done so much, and he's in now with his brand new movie, Bhopal. We're going to take a moment here to talk to Mr. Kal Penn. I'd like to welcome to the show right now, Mr. Kal Penn. Kal, how are you?
Good, how are you?
This is great to meet you.
It's good to meet you.
I've
Thanks
seen you on TV and movies for so many years, and now you're right here in front of me.
I am. I love coming into this building.
I'm impressed. I know the same is not to be said on your end here, but this is so awesome to see you.
Likewise. Thanks for the love. Gosh,
no problem.
I was just talking to the Harold and Kumar guys because we're trying to get this animated series off the ground,
right?
And we were talking about how I did not have a career before that first movie, right? And it was the fact that the movie tanked at the box office. So hearing you say things like that, talking about years and years, like we did this movie, had no idea it was going to take off, did terribly in the box office. Fans found it on DVD, bought it, gave it to each other, and then suddenly
it became a huge cult classic.
Things. It's like, I am deeply indebted to everything that you just said because I feel like it's the only reason I have a career. So thank you.
Well, I do appreciate that, but let me cut this down a little bit here because I'm not one of those people that knows you or appreciates you from Harold and Kumar.
Awesome.
I know you as Taj.
Oh, man. Okay, so you actually do go back a little further.
I went to the movies when that came out, and that's where I remembered you. And then when I saw you in everything else, even all the way up through House, I'm like, that's Taj. Isn't it weird that no matter what an actor can do in their career, there's just one role that reaches out to one person or a group of people? They know your whole body of work, but that's how they remember you or how they choose to remember you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that about this business. I think like there's Tom Hanks is obviously incredible.
Right.
The first thing I saw him in was Big.
Right.
And so he's always the dude from Big. And I mean, look, he's somebody I really revere and would love to work with. Same thing with Denzel Washington. The first time I saw him in was a little movie called Mississippi Masala that came out in like the early 90s.
You know how I know that movie? Because that was one of those movies they would play late night on the movie channel because there was some skin in it.
Yeah, that's
and you
right.
would tape me like, if you look through the old paper back there for the guide, it would say R and it would say nudity, and you're like, oh, I got to see that. It's on 11:30.
Yeah, but that's how I first identified him, and then seeing his film he did with Kenneth Branagh later in high school, I was like, oh, this is the guy from Mississippi Masala. And then you realize, okay, I'm an idiot, and he's Denzel Washington. And
it's interesting you brought those two actors up, because depending on who you talk to, how they remember those two, you can kind of guess what their age is, like where they grew up, and it's like, how do you know guy? You knew him from Big. Yeah. Some people knew him as a bizarre drunk uncle on Family Ties, or bosom buddies, and then some people will say, oh, he's the guy from now I'm forgetting the movie where he's stranded with the volleyball.
The FedEx movie.
Yeah, the FedEx movie. That's pretty much what everyone calls it, right? This is
Castaway.
Castaway. There it is. These are guys that had long careers, and you'll have a long career, so you still got a lot of projects coming that somebody's going to remember you. Say your project coming out next. They're like, oh, that's the guy from Battle Creek.
Awesome, I'll take it.
It's also cool too that you embrace the Harold and Kumar thing, because, like you said, it wasn't a big hit in the box office, so nobody expected it to be a big deal, and then it became a big deal. And then it became a really big deal when Neil Patrick Harris became more famous from How I Met Your Mother, and then John was in Star Trek, and you're in House, and then you're in this new movie here, which we haven't plugged yet, Bhopal, right? That you embraced this thing. You did two more, right? It was Guantanamo Bay, and then there was a Christmas one, movie. And now you got the animated series, which is. I'm amazed that you're still going to run with this.
This character is cooler than I will ever be in my life, so I'm fine with playing that. But I think you have a soft spot for a character like that actually allows you to continue to get more work. And I think that the thing that I find so fascinating is some of the directors have had the privilege of working with. In things that are different than the comedic stuff. So Mira and I are in this movie called The Namesake. Bryan Singer in Superman Returns. Howard Gordon, I had this 4-episode arc on 24 a few years ago. All of that, I think, came out of the fact that Harold and Kumar had taken off. And so of course I have this relationship with that movie where I'm still fascinated that people talk about it and see it, and
I just find that really cool that you've embraced it, because I'm sure people still come up to you and say, oh my God, Kumar, and do they try off in your pot or cheeseburgers or something, right? Yeah. And that you're like, I've done other things, but you're like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's great.
Look, obviously you hope that people see your other things, but if your only job hazard in life is that people want to high five you and give you weed on the street, then you should not complain.
Let's talk about your movie here for a little bit. Sure. Bhopal, A Prayer for Rain. Now, the event itself, when it happened, I was 6 years old, so I didn't really know what was going on. Yeah. Then I saw the movie was coming out, and I read it, and oh my God, like, who knew it was such a big deal to a younger person until now this is being brought to light. I don't think a lot of people remember this incident. And just to read everything about what happened, and nobody was really, like, they named names, but nobody was really held accountable for all of it.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing to revisit and discover when we made the film. I was also a kid when the actual events happened, and so I didn't remember very much of it. We did study it a little bit in a class I took in college, but it wasn't until I read the script. Essentially what had happened in 1984 was there's this American company called Union Carbide that's now owned by Dow Chemical, and they built this pesticide factory in the middle of India with seemingly good intentions, creating a product that people needed around the world, reducing famine, providing jobs for people. What ended up happening was a combination of sort of greed on the part of the corporation, plus things like government corruption and lax safety standards and oversight and things like that. There was this awful disaster. 40 tons of a toxic gas was released. Killed about 5,000 people instantly.
Well, it was really, just so people know, it was released overnight. Yeah. Not like they purposely did it, but it happened. Right. People were sleeping. Yeah. So nobody knew that it was going on. And then the next day, the ones who did survive or came into the area, all these people were dead.
Yeah, exactly. It was horrible if you look at some of the archival footage and things like that. And after that was really when things got even more problematic, because you had different parties holding different people accountable. The company saying that they only had a 51% stake in this interest. There were settlements that were called into question legally. The point is, I think what the writers tried to do with the movie, and I hope they've done it successfully, is that it was a really complicated issue. I think a lot of times when you look at this, it's very easy to say this was just corporate greed or this was just government corruption, and this was really a horrible situation. There are still people suffering the consequences of this. So this site was never fully cleaned up.
Obviously, people who lost loved ones and friends and what have you, they're still suffering from that. But the area itself is still somewhat contaminated.
Yeah. And so you have all the makings of, when I read the script, the first thing thing I thought of was how come nobody's talked about this? There have been some fantastic documentaries and articles written about this, but nobody's made a fictionalized adaptation of this. From the purposes of just storytelling, the fact that this is a story that's really interesting. And then secondarily, you talk to groups like, I didn't realize anyone would have a stake in this, but Amnesty International has been partnering with the film's distributors on releasing it because they've had this active campaign seeking justice for the survivors for a long time. And, as an actor, you don't necessarily think about all those things when you decide to make a movie, but it was a fascinating realization of these real life events 30 years ago we think is a long time, but really not a long time. There are still people who are dealing with the consequences of this thing, and it was really interesting to get to know a lot of these people and see their life story, see how they react to a film like this.
Was this project something that you sought out, or was this approached to you?
The writer emailed me, actually. He emailed me, it's been 5 years, and he said he wrote this script, wanted me to take a look at it. My first reaction was I was impressed with the complexity and the way it was written. Huge tragedy, obviously. Then I sat down and talked to him, and I said, why do you want to make this movie? And he basically outlined, how he grew up in that part of India, why he wanted to tell the story, really passionate. And so I said, sure, why not? I mean, it was a small movie. This is not the kind of thing that it's a big payday or that you even think is going to get distribution. Selfishly, Martin Sheen had already signed on, and I was a big Martin Sheen fan, so it seemed like the nice combination of something I wanted to do artistically plus a story that I thought was compelling. What's it like working with Martin Sheen, knowing that he did West Wing, and then you also got a chance to work in the Obama administration? I was a Martin Sheen fan for ages, and I was a huge West Wing fan also. We've never talked about the actual versus the fictitious West Wing, but it's interesting. A lot of my DC friends, obviously huge West Wing fans, also, and so I got a lot of texts and emails like, "Hey, what's Martin Sheen actually like?" And wasn't it amazing during that time, during the Bush administration, that people were viewing the fictitious television president as being more of the president than the guy who was actually in office? These things always go through fluctuations. It depends on who. I think wasn't the West Wing did it start during the Clinton years? Is that I think it started in the late 90s, yeah. Because I remember talking to some of the producers. One of our writers on House was a writer on the West Wing, and I met some of those guys in the past, and they said, when the West Wing was at its height and the Clinton administration was at its height, they would sometimes go to DC to shoot things and, sort of get this VIP treatment of real, Clinton staffers showing them around DC and things like that. Well, because he was a Democrat in the movie. I mean, in the TV show. Yeah, but still, I mean, I think it's interesting to see how different administrations operate differently. Like the Bush administration, obviously, operating very differently. The Obama administration, the president's very family oriented, so you see much less of the, drinking scotch, playing cards thing that you might think of from the 90s happening now. I just think that's so fascinating. I'm not a presidential historian, obviously, but it's an interesting thing, I think, the way that different people lead. Well, you should know a little bit. You worked for the guy. Yeah, no, I know about this particular, but I feel like I'm not equipped to make these comparisons that I'm trying to make for the. Do you think a show like that could have succeeded nowadays with the Obama administration in power? Yeah, you got House of Cards. Yeah. Well, that's just because everyone loves Kevin Spacey being super evil in the thing. I think I mean, by the time I got to, when I was working at the White House, it was interesting to see how little the West Wing mirrored what actually happens. There are some things that are accurate, like, these walk and talk meetings where you need to get a meeting done and you only have 2 minutes when somebody. You got to walk them right down to the car. Have to walk to the, so that's all, that kind of stuff is true. But then the things like, let's order Chinese food. It's 2 a.m. We're pulling an all-nighter, beers and Chinese food. I was really excited about that concept. And then you start pulling your all-nighter and someone's like, no, that's not reality. Secret Service won't let you bring food in here. There's a vending machine in the basement, though, if you're hungry. I'm like, oh, boo. They don't have the chef up late at night cooking, and not on the staff level. I think hopefully if the president's working late, they've got that. You were the former director. Former director of the White House of Public Engagement. So I was one of several associate directors of public engagement. I worked mostly on issues related to young people. So the office used to be called, this is kind of, a little bit of boring insider speak. It used to be called the Office of Public Liaison. I think it was started by the Nixon administration. It was basically a place where if you were an advocate or a lobbying organization, this was a place you could go to make your voice heard. The president campaigned on this promise of, wanting to be more accessible, wanting people to have a seat at the table. So it changed the dynamic of the office so that there was a person there basically could listen to any interest group, organization, community that had a particular grievance or wanted to make their voice heard on a piece of legislation or what have you. So I worked on the youth component of that, which I loved. I mean, it was, and I think still is, a lot of really important, interesting things. You know, the Affordable Care Act, when it was going through Congress, the piece of it, the outreach piece of it in particular that I worked on was the being able to stay on your parents' health insurance plan until you're 26. That was fascinating to see because you had youth advocates, you know, young people who were Democrats, Republicans, Independents saying, we want you to put in the bill, you know, we want the president to vouch for you should stay on your parents' health insurance plan until you're 28.
Yeah.
And then you had older folks say, no way, that's too expensive. Make it 21, make it 22. And then seeing when he came up with the 26 number.
I mean, I'm glad they changed it because I don't get that. When you're 21 and 22, you're still in college.
Yeah.
So if you're in college and a lot of the times your parents are helping you pay for college or they're paying for college, but you're not ready to go out into the world yet at 21, 22 because you're still doing school. So then all of a sudden you have the major financial responsibility of paying for your health care.
Yeah. Well, there's that. And there's also all these folks who either choose not to go to school or they're in community college or trade school or military or just seeking unemployment, you know, right out of high school. And it's challenging for them. So I was fascinated by the concept that, look, you know, 40 million new people are getting health insurance. And I'm working on this little component outreach side that's based on young people under 26.
Right.
It's just fascinating. And then things like the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell or doubling Pell Grants for college. I mean, these are things that are, if you look at older people over 35, they view it as a Democrat or Republican issue. But if you look at younger people, they're like, no, of course we should get this done. Why is it taking so long to get this done? So it was an interesting dynamic. I really enjoyed it.
This was an appointed position, right?
Yeah.
They came and asked you if you would come on board and help out?
Yeah, a lot of the new, especially in the new administration, a lot of the early appointees are people who had worked on the candidates' campaigns. This happens on the gubernatorial side, senator, obviously the president. And I joined the Obama campaign in 2007 when before the Iowa caucuses. So there were 10 Democrat, 10 Republicans running, for this thing. He was down 40 points in the polls. There was a writer's strike in Hollywood, so I couldn't see anything anyway. So I started volunteering, and it was interesting to see how this momentum picked up. Really, hopefully, but unexpectedly. And the next thing you know, 2 years go by, and he is the president, and you don't really say, no, I have another stoner movie to make. You say, yes, I'm honored to serve my country. And it
would be funny if Obama's looking for some ideas and give me the Kumar kid. How long did you have the position for?
I was there for 2 years.
For 2 years. Yeah. Now, was that the length of the position, or did you decide to leave?
So these are open in the sense that they're, you get sworn in. It's considered at the pleasure of the president. So you can serve for all 8 years, or a lot of people take. And I have to say, this is not a particularly unique thing to me. Right. I know because I'm in the public eye, a lot of people feel like it is, but there were plenty of people who are doctors and CEOs and professors and grad students and lawyers that took a year off or 2 years off or 5 years off to serve in the administration. So in my case, I said I was just going to do it for a year. And I was going to take a sabbatical from acting, do that for a year, and then go back to acting. And I realized probably 6 months into working at the White House that the federal government operates so painfully slowly that nothing that I was working on was actually going to get done in a year. So I extended it a second year, and then that's when a lot of the things
I remember, because you had just left House.
I loved you, Lori, man. That working on that show was a blast. That was the thing when that came up. It was like, how do I explain to my employers that there are so many people that, for creative differences in the artistic world in general, creative differences, or somebody doesn't see eye to eye, or because of a creative decision they're written off of a show. How the hell am I going to justify to this guy that I'm really having a great time playing Dr. Kuttner?
Yeah.
Certainly my family loves the fact that I'm playing a doctor. So
and based on your character, it would seem like you didn't, because your character didn't take any of House's shit.
Yeah.
And it was just and then to the point, it was like, I don't need to listen to you, where everybody else was trying to get ahead, and though they were getting browbeaten by him, and you're like, fuck this guy. Yeah. I know what I'm doing. Totally. I'm leaving.
That's what was so much fun about playing Kuttner was he never took House's shit. He was always doing his own thing.
You're the guy in the office that said, I'm not putting up with the boss's bullshit. I'm leaving, and I'm getting another job. It was the perfect role. Everyone's like, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, it was a fun role. It was a fun job, and I'm working with David Shore, who created House. I'm working with him and Vince Gilligan on this new show called Battle Creek, hopefully
comes out in 2015, right?
2015, yeah.
Is it new fall or is it mid?
I think it's mid-season.
Mid-season,
yeah. Although it's on CBS. They have a tremendously successful fall show. So knock on wood, they can put us in somewhere where we do well.
Did you see Ryan Reynolds at all still? Or
I haven't seen him in a while. I run into him every so often. I mean, that was my first movie. Van Wilder. He's awesome. I love that guy.
You ever think that maybe somewhere down the line, like, well, we just do another Van Wilder, see where it goes?
I don't know if I would do it. I did a second one.
Like you're working at the company he now runs, you know?
Oh, that's an interesting concept, actually. I did a second one and had a blast.
Yeah, The Rise of Taj.
The Rise of Taj. I don't know it was very good, but I had a good time doing it. Your listeners are all like, no, it was a piece of shit. Why did you?
Dude, people are watching those Van Wilder and American Pie, charity run or whatever they're doing, the naked run on that shows up on cable.
The first one was great. Ryan was fantastic. The second one, I was happy to do, and I had fun doing it.
Ryan's character was great in there. The movie probably could have stood alone if it was just focused on him, but the fact that you were there giving this angle where he was becoming kind of fatherly to you and passing on his wisdom and the way to conduct your life, and when you got so mad when you were like, I went to smack Clem, and that whole little montage you did.
That monologue in the beginning, so it wasn't all scripted that way. The writers are obviously very funny guys. I was so thankful that they and the directors and Ryan, when we went to shoot that scene, were like, do you guys want to improv a little bit? I'm like, yes. And that's my whole high school, college, post-college background was a lot of improv. And Ryan's like, yeah, let's do it. Just keep the camera rolling. And for me, I didn't have the balls to say
something. And those are usually the best scenes.
And it turned out to be, I didn't have the guts to say it because it was my first movie. I'm like, what am I going to tell a Hollywood director to keep the camera rolling? Right. Ryan's like, don't worry about it. I got this. Let's just do this. Keep going. Don't cut. Keep rolling for 3 minutes. And we just kept going, and he kept feeding off of things that
and they wound up using it.
They wound up using all of it, which was awesome.
You're a big comic book fan?
I was more back in the day. I'm less so now, but I read a lot of Spider-Man. Really loved being the Superman. I got cut out of most of the Superman movie, but it was fun to do just by virtue of the fact that history of it goes back to radio, which I think is fascinating.
Because I just saw that you did This Week in Marvel's podcast.
Yeah.
Where you got to talk about Spider-Man, which I thought was really cool. And I was going through and everything. I'm like, I wonder if he's a big fan of the world. Because I wanted to ask you, what do you think of that trailer that Ryan Reynolds put out, politicking to be Deadpool?
I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No.
They made a trailer because the movie was in limbo for so long with 20th Century Fox not getting it made. Ryan, and I'm forgetting the director's name, they put it together, made their own trailer because now the Deadpool movie is approved and everybody's pushing to make him Deadpool.
I got to see that.
Well,
but I can tell you
once we're done, I'll show it to you. But
please.
It's one of the most funniest, brutally graphic things that you've seen. And it's only within like 2 minutes, and he's perfect for the part.
I want to see right now.
So let's plug the movie here. Bhopal, A Prayer for Rain is open now. It's in New York and Los Angeles.
It's in New York this weekend. So it opened on Friday here in New York at the East Village Cinema, and opens in LA next weekend.
Okay.
And then Chicago the weekend after that. So the website is Bhopal Movie, BHOPAL movie.com. And I'll tweet a little more about where it's open.
Are they doing a full rollout, or is this going to be something that eventually goes on like a video on demand?
I think they're doing a full rollout. It's going to depend on how popular it is in the cities that it initially launches in. It's kind of an interesting concept for a release. It's a global movie. So we shot it, there was 3 American actors, a bunch of Indian actors, a European production team, in addition to the Indian production team. And it's opening here first, and then it rolls out in South Asia, India, Singapore, the UK, Germany, Israel. So
it'll be somewhere. You get a chance to see it.
It'll be somewhere, I'm curious. But, see it here. See it in America.
And Kal Penn on Twitter. You're very active on Twitter. I like the fact that you criticize watching C-SPAN. That you sit there and you're watching stuff sometime and go, who said this was a great idea for the reporter to ask this guy?
Oh, that was yesterday. That drove me crazy. I forget what I was even
There was
watching.
one like a week or two ago. You were going off about people asking questions to the press secretary.
It was an absurd question.
Yeah.
Like at some point, because I feel like cable news has gotten to the place where it used to be, you're watching ridiculousness. And now they're just straight up asking the press secretary, and then yesterday asking the president ridiculous questions. Like, just ask a normal, thoughtful question. He's not going to give you talking points.
I like how you were trying to improve the questions for the people asking them by making them even more absurd.
Yeah, no, I had to make them more absurd. Like, what happens if... Well, what did I tweeted something ridiculous. Like, what happens if the Republican promise of ISIS Putting Ebola up your butt.
Yeah, you wrote this one here. Ha ha ha. The press is absurd. Some old guy asked the press secretary what the plan is if a psychopath gets Ebola to infect people.
Yeah.
This is a great movie idea.
It's a fantastic movie idea. And the way he asked it, I think this tweet was mostly geared towards people who were actually watching it, because the way he asked it was, first of all, he looked totally disheveled. Not that I want to make fun of the way somebody looks, but there was a generational divide there. Press Secretary Josh Earnest, very young, very knowledgeable guy. This guy was clearly trying to stir the pot and was like, if your question is about national security and how it pertains to diseases, then ask a question about national security and how it pertains to diseases. Don't ask a hypothetical question about whether terrorists are gonna weaponize Ebola and whether or not you have a plan for it. I mean, these are like, ask a fucking normal question. I thought it was hilarious.
Who's gonna win Dancing with the Stars?
Exactly.
Kal Penn on Twitter, the movie Bhopal, Prayer for Rain out now. Kal Penn, thank you so much, man.
Thank
this
you.
was really cool to meet you, and hope you come back again sometime.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Erik Nagel. You know, Erock, well, he'll be right back. It's Erik Nagel. Erik Nagel.
Welcome back to It's Erik Nagel. It's opening weekend for Big Hero 6, Disney Pictures adaptation of the Marvel comic book. And recently I got a chance to speak to a lot of people who worked on this movie, cast, crew, etc. So let's start everything off right now with the voices of Go-Go and Honey Lemon, Jamie Chong, and Genesis Rodriguez. Have you done much animation or voiceover work in the past?
Never, not at all. I did some video game work and a show, X-Men Destiny.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and it was quite similar, but this is like a process that I've never experienced before. Something that lasted for almost a year, and your character evolves, and they really have the luxury of time to make things right and change things around and make the jokes work or like change this or that. And so I've never experienced anything like it. It's quite different from video game voiceover work.
Were you familiar with Big Hero 6, the Marvel comic book, before this project?
Not at all. No, I'm gonna be honest.
Did you do your research?
No.
At least you're honest.
I'm honest, but this is inspired by. So, I mean, they told us not to study.
To look at it, yeah, because it's going to be quite different. They took the liberty of really making their own story.
Yeah. We work at the same
university.
Yeah, university, and we have like our own little experiments that we're working on, and so we kind of lure Hero to joining the crew because he's not in the right path. And yeah, then we become like a little family, and then we become superheroes. So thankfully, we didn't have to prepare too much for it.
How excited are you to have your own toys?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. But the truth is that I might have like a shrine at the house, like a hoarder kind of a freaky thing afterwards.
By you or your mom?
What?
Shriner thing from you or by your mom?
The honey lemon thing. I'm just gonna get a whole room for like honey lemon stuff. I don't know.
So it's your own obsession.
Yeah.
I've got like 10 Baymaxes stuffed in my little purse.
Yes, I want Baymax everything.
I'm gonna hoard them all. Yeah.
Did they hook you up? Did they give you everything that your character is on?
I'm just joking.
You just took?
No, I'm just joking. No, they did give us some really cool Baymax memorabilia as well as a couple of our own toys, but I didn't know that. And these things sell out so quickly.
Yeah.
I would buy it for them, but they really do sell out.
I know you would like to do more work with Disney, but do you have any other plans going on with Disney?
I'm just so happy to be a part of the family. They said that we were a family now, so now I'm just going to call up my family and cousins every single time, see what's up.
Does family mean you get into the park for free?
I don't know. We'll find out. I'll let you know.
I hope so. I'm going to inquire about that.
Me too.
Big Hero 6, moving on to the voice of Hero, Ryan Potter. Doing Super Ninjas, right? Super Ninjas for Nickelodeon. You have an extensive background in mixed martial arts, so I can see how that got you onto that show. How do you feel your mixed martial arts background has got you into animation voiceover?
Oh man, it didn't have a role of me actually getting it, but once I was in the booth and I was recording, there's a lot of efforts in the film. He's jumping, he's running, he's getting thrown, and a lot of animated films there's efforts. But I think this film in particular, there's a lot more efforts that my character does, and it's just the noises I make in kung fu class. You know, like when I'm punching the bag or when I'm sparring with somebody, those are the noises that I make. So it's easy. You know, ha ha ha. You know, it's second nature to me.
Now your character is Hero.
His name is Hero. Yeah.
Who is the hero?
Man, yeah, he is.
Now, when you're doing the voiceover work for this, I find voiceover work very fascinating. When you're doing the voiceover work for this, how much of the production is done? Do they let you visualize as you're doing the work? And do they adjust some of the production based on the characteristics and the personality that you bring into the character?
There was nothing. All there was...
Sorry, Genesis Rodriguez has almost knocked you over taking off her shoes.
I took off my shoes, people. Sorry.
Were you guys towering?
Sorry.
People had to look up at you?
No. Put them on for 2 minutes and then you'll know why.
Oh, I got you. Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to wear heels. Oof. But yeah, you know, there was nothing. All there was some very light storyboarding. Now and then some storyboard came in and it was killer. Like, it was really detailed, but it was mainly all sketches. So they created it visually for me, just in my imagination. They would build it. Oh, this scene is taking place here, the mood, this and that. So yeah, I didn't have a lot to work off of, except what the directors would create for me.
When you do your whole role for the movie, they go and do production, they got to change some things, they got to edit some things. Do they call you back to do some touch-ups? Do you get to visualize it then?
Yeah, you know, the last 2 recording sessions I went in and I did ADR work. So we redid a few lines and I matched it to the production. Before it was I had recorded everything and the production was matched to the performance, the facial expressions I was making in the booth. So you know, there towards the end, I was able to see a little bit of production and I was able to match. But yeah, you know, the script was evolving throughout the entire process, from the rough to the second to the third to the fourth. The film, I don't know, it almost grew legs throughout the entire process, and major parts of the film were cut out, put back in, changed. I mean, even characters were moved around and changed, and yeah, the film really did evolve.
How familiar were you with Big Hero 6, the Marvel comic book, before all this came about?
I actually owned Big Hero 6 comic books before I went in an audition. But once I went in for the audition, I went online and I purchased as many as I could find, and all the other ones that Big Hero 6 appears in or guest stars in, the Silver Samurai and the Sunfire, the ones where Big Hero 6 appeared as guests. I had to go and find all those. So I was pretty familiar with this project.
Well, it's great that you get a chance to work on a property that you are familiar with and a fan of, so you know the history, so it makes it a little bit easier, I would think. Working on this movie, it's now done, you're doing the big promo tour, the toy line is out, it's very impressive. Did they give you any free toys, or did you have to go and get it yourself?
Absolutely. You know, it's funny, I'm in the process of working with Bandai right now, because these are the guys that built my childhood toys when I grew up in Japan. I have the Kamen Rider belt, the sword, the helmet, I have the Power Ranger this and that, I have the Ultraman this, these guys made my childhood. So now that they're making this project that I'm just absolutely in love with and I've been a part of, it comes full circle for me. And so we reached out to them and they reached out to us, and we're gonna do a little bit of work with them, whether it's here or whether it's in Japan. And yeah, it's exciting. It's really exciting.
Well, you got a great movie. You got your own action figure now. I don't think you could ask for anything more.
No, it's
maybe another movie and a sequel and a franchise.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Ryan, it was great meeting you, man. Much success. Thanks, man.
Thank you so much for your time.
Big Hero 6, let's move on to directors Don Hall, Chris Williams, and producer Roy Conley. This is an interesting selection for Disney's first venture to go completely with a Marvel property. Not very mainstream, but it's going to be very mainstream. What was the process behind picking this particular project?
Well, I started making a list of things after John and I talked for the first time about my desire to take a Marvel comic book and adapt it, so I made a list of things, and I came across this title called Big Hero 6, and I looked it up. I just love the title. I had never read it. Saw a Japanese superhero team. I thought cool, and we put it on the list, and put it up on I pitched John a bunch of properties, and this was the one he gravitated, and all of us gravitated. I think the other directors too thought, oh, that's the one.
When you heard Big Hero 6, were you immediately thinking something like Voltron?
I guess kind of.
Anything like that with the Japanese robots, you automatically think, oh, it's going to turn into a bigger robot and save the universe.
Yeah, it just had an interesting hook to it. And then when I read the comics, I was like, oh, the characters actually were really fun. And I thought, and the tone of it was actually really, kind of lighter, on the lighter side. It was very fun and energetic, and I just thought it'd be perfect to bring over to our building and do something with it.
Yeah, when Don pitched it to the other directors in the building, we all really gravitated to it. We all saw the potential, and we were very excited when John Lasseter said, let's go ahead and make that one.
Yeah. So you get the directors on board with this pitch. Again, it's not a mainstream property at this point. Everybody is on board for this, but how do you get Disney to say yes to this? Because usually they don't take that big a gamble on an unknown product.
Well, I think everybody felt early on that actually it worked in our favor, because we were always going to take something and bring it over and kind of make it our own. And with that in mind, it actually worked in our favor that the title's a little bit more on the obscure side, because then it gave us more license to be able to take it and create our own sort of mythology and our own world around this property.
I think with the development of San Francisco and kind of building our own universe, right? It became something of itself, and it became a huge asset to us. We had the complete freedom to make anything we wanted to make.
And I'll also say the studio system can be very complicated sometimes, but ours is simpler. We answer to John Lasseter, and he trusts his gut and he trusts his own taste, and he responded to it, he loved it, and that's all it took.
Just the name of the city. If not for the movie, it's made to be a video game setting.
I can see a video game in the future, yeah.
Marvel fans growing up, comic books, any of that?
Marvel all the way, yeah, Marvel all the way.
Now that Disney has the Marvel library, if they say, here, take a look, what other Marvel properties would you like to tinker with? What are you going for? What's on your short list?
Wow.
Huh. I know I can't actually.
Besides getting X-Men back from Fox.
Yeah, that'll be the next thing. Yeah, we'll go over there and steal it away in the middle of the night. No, I don't know. This has been so fun taking this thing and creating our own world with it. So I haven't put any thought into really what happens next, and
I don't think that's true. I'm sure you have a project, but you're just being coy with it.
I'm not kidding. I'm gonna take a long time. I'm gonna take a big break because we worked really hard on getting this thing out the door. So.
Well, what about you two gentlemen? Is there a project that's in back of your mind that if this goes the way you're hoping it goes, and Disney says, here's the vault, go through it, what do you want to do? What's on the list?
I think you have to understand that we've been on this thing for years, and we're this close to being done. And
you're going down to vacation mode.
Well, just emotionally, we're not thinking about the next thing. For us to be able to play it for the crowd that saw it today, it was so gratifying and so emotional.
Yeah, the reception was amazing.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
And so we're not thinking about the next thing. We're just enjoying right now, handing the movie over to the audience and letting them live with those characters.
We're also very lucky at our studio that there are several projects in development, and so we can just sort of take our time, get a little R&R, just take a break mentally and physically and creatively, and then we'll see what happens next.
I'm going sailing.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Get out of here.
What are you guys doing once this is done?
Well, I'm not going sailing. I would probably end up drowning. We're going to do a little bit of the touring around the world, a little promotion, and then take a little break.
Family time.
That'd be nice.
I think we both have little kids.
So. I mean, these guys have not seen their families much over the last 2 years. I mean, the focus of this, we've been working 13-hour days and 6 days a week. It's been an intense schedule.
And bringing home these Baymax toys gets us back in. I'm starting to find I'm getting back in their good graces. I'm welcome back into the family with these new toys.
Well, I was going to say, with the toy line here coming out, this is a unique situation where the product's not really known. The toy line has been pretty impressive. What's out in the stores there, it catches your eye. Yep. Simple white box, big bright red robot. Kids are going right for it here. So the fact that they had this much confidence to put all this out right before the movie comes and everybody understands it, because it's not a known franchise as far as mainstream goes. The toy line comes out. A lot of the times they don't get the toys for free. Do you have to go and buy your own product?
I have purchased several of the toys so far. I'm hoping maybe we'll get some freebies soon, but I couldn't wait. I just had to go. I couldn't.
Bag. You get some of the stuff, but not all the stuff. So, and I have 2 kids, so I go and buy 3 of everything. Yeah. So yes, I bought plenty of Big Hero 6 stuff.
I work with the toy people quite a bit, so I generally get a pretty good swag bag at the end of these things.
I don't like the look the other 2 are giving you for saying that.
I know. Well, I think their hands will be in my bag.
So if your families has the well, you guys have the toys, but if your family have have the toys as well. What do you do for Christmas now?
Oh, that's going to be tough. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I've hidden a couple things away, actually. They don't know about a couple of the Fred dolls.
Yeah, oh, that's smart. That's really smart. I don't know. We're going to have Scott Adsit come and pay a visit.
Exactly. Bring the cast home.
Yeah, there we go.
Big Hero 6, really excited about it. It's I hate saying that Disney's taking a chance on this because I think they know better than the public does when it comes to their product, and they put a lot of passion and a lot of heart into what they do. But to do this unknown product to the mainstream and put this out here, I think this opens the door for bigger and better things.
Hope so. I hope so, Mo. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Big Hero 6, let's talk to the voice of Fred, TJ Miller. And he's adjusting strategically his action figures in his the pockets of his suit vest.
I've been carrying these around with me every day. You know, this has been a big thing for me. You know, you always dream that you'll be an action figure, and you hope that your little face will be on there, and look at this.
There it is.
Secret Fred face. Ever heard of it? Ever snurred of it? That's when you smell something a nerd heard. Disney's amazing. I mean, it really was. It feels like a family there, and you do understand why Pixar and Disney make the movies that they make.
Yeah.
You know, they just treat everybody so well, and you know, there's a lot of gratitude. Everyone's so grateful to be working there, grateful to work with the people they do. They're so excited. I mean, it really is. It is like it's a magical kingdom.
I gotta say, I mean, just getting the free toys alone is enough of incentive to work for them. I don't know if you, when you were doing the Cloverfield project, did they give you the monster for free, or did you have to go out and buy that?
No, and I didn't go and buy it out of spite. And that monster killed Rob. He killed the older brother. Terrifying. So I was pissed off at him.
So your character is Fred in the movie. He did go HUD.
He killed me. I get killed in a lot of movies. This is one of the few where they kept me alive.
Tell me about Fred.
So, Fred he's kind of the one guy that isn't a tech or science guy, which actually is similar to me, and same thing with my character in Silicon Valley. It's like he runs more on confidence than coding, you know, and false confidence at that. But yeah, I found that, you know, it works because he's a comic book enthusiast and he's a science enthusiast, and more than that, he's like a friendship enthusiast. He loves hanging out with his friends. He loves sort of sharing in their accomplishments and helping them with stuff. And so we slowly kind of find that he's also the narrator in some ways of this experience, because he's the one that begins to realize, you guys, this is a superhero tale. Like, it's happening. That's a villain. That's a super villain at that. And when Hero decides to make everybody superhero suits, he's like, this is our origin story. This is the genesis of our team. So he kind of does that throughout the film, and he gets more and more excited. And, you know, he's got some heart to him, to be sure, also. And there's some sentimental moments, but mostly, you know me, I'm a comedian, and that's mostly what I bring to the table. So it's a lot of comedy. You get a lot of fun lines from him, a lot of really weird, wacky stuff. I'm an absurdist. I got some really strange things in the movie that I never thought would make it in. I even said after this song that he has, Fred's Angels, I was like, well, that's unusable, I'm sure, and it's in the movie.
Based on what you just said there, was there room for your personality to develop into the character? Did they let you maybe ad-lib a little bit and see if it worked?
I think more than anybody, I was really given free rein. You know, they sort of said, I kind of said, well, what do you want? What kind of character voice do you want? And they're like, we don't. And I was like, well, what do you want him to sound like? And they're like you. And I was like, oh, okay, well, so what kind of comedy do you want? Like, to make it more of a Disney character? They're like, no, it's your comedy. You do your thing. And I was like, really? What? And then I just went for it. And that's why there's some sort of absurdist lines that are in there. And that's why I think you can feel me as a comedian in the character. And yeah, they let me improvise. I've got a ton of lines in the movie that I riffed, but also their writers, Chris Williams and everybody, they're so funny. So there was such a foundation to work off of. And there are so many strong lines that they wrote that are in the movie that I felt so... I had a lot of fun, like, performing those lines, that it's a really, really funny movie. I mean, and it's funny because of Baymax and Scott Adsit is an improviser, so they obviously were open to that. They were open to that sort of, they were open to improvisers in general. And so I think, and that's what I like, is that it mixes action, like Marvel action, and superhero story, like in the Marvel tradition, but with the heart and sentimentality that Disney does, with dealing with big topics like grief, revenge, loss, death, all those things, like Disney does so well. But in this movie, they do it more directly, and the characters talk to each other about it, which is a new frontier, I think, even for Disney. And I don't know, all of that. And then it's hilarious because Disney is really, really, really funny. I mean, you watch Frozen, which is like a classic fairy tale princess story, and it's hilarious. There's a lot of comedy to it. And this one, they did something really spectacular, which was they mixed all of it together, so well. There's a lot to balance there, action and comedy, and in the middle of action sequences there'll be a laugh out loud moment, and then it's right back to the action sequences, and you're laughing, and then suddenly something happens, and you're just, you just want to start crying. I mean, I don't, because I'm a sociopath, but I think people who have actual human emotions and don't have to emulate human emotions, it really makes you tear up. It really is affecting, and it's sad and inspirational so many times throughout the movie that I think people are really, really going to like it. I did. I walked out with my fiance and was like, Jesus, this is crazy. And she was just like, I can't believe that movie, because it had all the elements that she was looking for, but she also, she's down. She's from Michigan. She'll drink a beer and watch an action movie. So that it has that action, and I think girls and boys are really going to like this.
You're on a hot streak right now with Silicon Valley, Transformers, which you said you died in, and now you're in this here. Do you see a franchise with this series, being that it was I wouldn't say it was kind of unknown to the mainstream, the Big Hero 6 Marvel comics, to now have this hit the mainstream? Do you see a franchise with this?
Well, first of all, I think
Scott Addis here.
Yeah, for me, a hot streak, it was the time that I started filming Yogi Bear 3D until Yogi Bear 3D came out and made, $100 million domestic. So that was my hot streak. This is sort of a soft landing into disappointment and a career that's plateauing. Pantan, Sam. This is Baymax right here next to us.
Hello.
The funniest part of the movie. Listen to that. That's it, isn't it?
That sounds just like
I was trying to get you to, yeah. I love that. Yeah, I hope this is a franchise. I think it's set up to be. And, people don't know the Big Hero 6 comics now, but they will on November 7th.
TJ Miller, thank you very much for your time, man. Big Hero 6, let's talk to the voice of Baymax, Scott Adsit. Hi, Scott. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you again.
I've seen you at many cons here where you're walking the floor actually shopping.
Oh, yeah.
And looking for toys and things like that, and now you have your own toy.
I'm holding a version of my character in my hand right now, one of many.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to get more, because I collect toys and action figures. So I can say that proudly now that I'm holding one of me.
What does it feel like to do panel and do press at the Comic-Cons when you're also a fan, when you walk around trying not to be noticed and buying your own stuff?
It seems ridiculous. I feel unworthy to talk to you right now. And I also I can't wait to just get out there and stop talking to you and go shopping. That's not true. I love talking to you. So it's weird to be on the other side. I think when I started going to comic book conventions, I was not on any kind of national scale of recognition. And 30 Rock happened, and then I started having a hard time getting around the Comic-Cons, and I would get stopped, and it's all lovely, and people, I love to meet people, and please stop me if you see me. But it changed the experience. So now I'm already I'm on the other side of the mirror now, and now I'm just in Wonderland, and everything is really weird to see, like behind the scenes, and having people interested in my opinion about things, and that's very heady and very nerdy.
Well, while doing these cons, not for work, but on your own, exploring, checking out all the booths and buying stuff, do you feel now with the success of 30 Rock and definitely with the success of Big Hero 6, do you feel that you have to dress down in order for people not to recognize you?
No. I don't
you wear like one of Judas' hats?
No, that would get more attention. No, I just wander around and I try to remember to have good posture. And I try to remember that my face, when it's neutral, is sad looking, even though I'm not. So I try to look a little happier because I know that people might recognize me and I don't want them to think, oh, Pete Hornberger is not a happy man. But I am. I really am.
That's a smart way to go because some celebrities do dress down for this when they're around the floor, walking around the floor.
Yeah.
One example is Thomas Jane. He before Hung came out, he was dressed up and he looked almost like a homeless person.
Yeah.
And all it did was draw more attention because you'd see a guy by the T-shirt to go, "What is that homeless guy doing?" And then everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Thomas Jane."
Yeah. Who's that really attractive homeless guy?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I have not had to put on like a Bart Simpson mask like Matt Smith to walk around because I'm not getting mobbed. I'm getting very graciously asked for pictures and autographs and just a handshake. So people are always very nice and they're not overwhelming me. So I don't need to dress up as anything else.
Tell me about your character in the movie here.
He's a healthcare provider. He's a nurse essentially. He's inflatable. He's a robot who's inflatable and latex kind of material, so that he can administer care without hurting. So he's not metal touching flesh. And in the course of it, Hero, the center of the film, decides that this robot would be better served to go after the villain of the piece if he was armored up. So he makes this 3D printed armor, and a good deal of the film is about their relationship and how they learn from each other about their own hearts. Although Baymax can't be said to have a heart, you might see a hint of one here and there. Although we won't admit that. He's not a Pinocchio trying to become a human being at all. But hopefully you'll recognize some emotions in there that you can say, "Oh yeah, I saw an emotion, but I can't prove it."
Now you have a very extensive body of work, comedy writing, 30 Rock, this, and a whole bunch of other things here. Do you find that people will be more impressed that you now have your own toy rather than all the other success that you've had?
I am. Yeah.
Is your family proud?
My family, yeah. I brought some of them here today, and they seem very pleased that I'm getting the attention that I'm getting and that I'm being interviewed right now. They really enjoy that. So do I. So thank you.
That's all the time we have. Follow the guys on Twitter and Instagram at Erock Radio and at Geek Stuff OG. Erock Radio and at Geek Stuff OG. The show should be back next week, right here on OP Radio.